What do you think are
Yeah,
the biggest mistakes companies are making when they're actually over measuring marketing?
over measuring marketing, I would say definitely, I would say most marketers think that they can measure everything, right? So I would say it's pretty controversial, but you can't really quantify everything in marketing, and that's okay. Um, Dashboards can't measure trust. They can't really measure brand. Of course, to some extent you can, brand voice, etc. But they can't really measure things like word of mouth, even though those things definitely drive sales. And I would say the biggest mistake I see is that companies, marketers are trying to put a precise ROI number on absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And then making decisions based purely on those numbers, even when the numbers are measuring the wrong things.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example of what is difficult to measure with that, but a strong um, ROI. Um, we're launching a brand, let's say, and the existing, let's say it's a new company, and the existing customers notice the brand launch in the market, and they mention it to someone on their sales team or their CSR. There's so much value in that customer talking to the client about the fact that they saw the brand in the market. It's very, very difficult to put a metric to that. And it's a great example of brand health, which a lot of people push aside. And something that I think from an ideology standpoint, we need to start really paying attention to.
Oh, 100%. Being that top of mind um, vendor, or essentially just the vendor of choice,
Right.
being recognized as a brand, obviously it ties immediately to that awareness for sure. I have another great example. Very early in my career, I fell into this growth hacking trap. So I
Uh,
was so focused on testing everything, optimizing every single metric, that I lost sight of the bigger picture. And of course, the consequence was that the essence got completely diluted.
right.
I was changing messaging, trying different angles, just, testing everything across the board, A/B testing absolutely everything. But without a solid foundation for your brand, all that testing was just creating confusion. And I
Yeah.
think that's when we come to kind of that. What one of my peers, Igor, he's the head of marketing at Circular Rice, um, he calls this random acts of marketing. So I think that's kind of also something that a lot of marketers kind of fall into. Um, so that's kind of the flip side of being willing to fail and testing new things. It's kind of going overboard. You can try too many things and you can stray too far from your core competencies as well. So definitely avoiding random acts of marketing was one of the good learnings that I took away from some of my conversations as well.
I absolutely love that. And let's move into demand generation in the age of the loop. The traditional funnel no longer reflects how people buy. Modern marketing is a loop, it's a continuum, always on and always learning. You've said the funnel is dead. What does the loop look like in practice?
Yeah, the funnelist debt is definitely a very, controversial statement. I would say the traditional sense of the funnel is dead and probably was never alive to start with because, as my one of my colleagues always says, humans will human, and it's really just, we us as human beings, we are not predictable,
Yeah.
and we're not going to take a linear approach when we're looking into, a new, for example, software to buy. And the funnel, kind of in the traditional sense, assumes that prospects move linearly,
Yeah.
from awareness, consideration, decision. But honestly, that's not really how anyone, like a real human, really buys. So obviously prospects bounce around. They might see you on LinkedIn, or they heard your CEO talk on a podcast, or they use your ROI calculator on your website, or they saw an ad somewhere. They they
Right.
asked ChatGPT for vendor recommendations. So obviously, it's chaos, it's looped. There is no straight line there. So I think definitely kind of that continuum that you were just mentioning, this notion of loop marketing. I think it was HubSpot coining this term, like a new playbook for the AI era. It really.
Definitely some controversy around it for sure.
Oh, 100%. And it's not that I am like 100% bought into this. It's not a new concept in any way. It kind of looks like an infinity loop, the way that they, visualized it. But I do think that, what I do like about it is that it definitely puts the focus on that it's an ever evolving system, and not a linear funnel.
The
And
The thing that I think is very, very interesting here, and this is a trap a lot of marketers get caught in, is let's just visually think through the traditional funnel. Um, all too often, brands go to market without awareness. They enter the funnel mid funnel. And without that awareness, it's going to be very, very difficult to create any kind of loop, whatever you want to call it, that is going to ultimately impact and introduce the brand the number of times that it needs to be in order for people to move down the funnel. So it's a great concept, I think, in theory, as long as awareness is again layered on top of it, because it's just going to take so much longer to make the impact without it.
100%. And I think definitely, to your point, what this means in practice is that winning teams are reinforcing that point of view across every single touch points, no matter what part of the so-called funnel they're in. You can't just nail top of funnel awareness and just expect that to cascade down.
Right.
um, you need to be consistent and compelling everywhere that prospect might encounter you. So, and I think that definitely also requires alignment, super close alignment with sales, with customer success, with other commercial teams, with a product team, because great marketing isn't just top of funnel anymore either. And it's definitely not just middle of funnel or bottom of funnel either, because, the funnel doesn't necessarily exist in the traditional sense anymore.
Did any of the individuals you talked to mention any specific techniques or tactics that they're achieving surprising results with right now?
Yeah, so I would say, the teams that are really doing this well, something that was mentioned very often was feature dumping. So not focusing on the feature dumping, but really baking that storytelling into every single aspect and every single element of your marketing. Definitely also focusing on tailoring your, let's say, your sales decks and slide decks in general, focused on kind of being narrative driven for different buyer personas, for different sub industries as well. Um, these day in the life videos per persona was
Right.
also mentioned, a couple times actually. Setting up champions programs, community was mentioned so many times. Kind of focusing on the ecosystem driven, marketing as well. Any sort of tools that are helpful, for champions, giving champions numbers that they can take straight to their, decision maker or finance department. Regional variations, 100%, EU versus US messaging for relevance and credibility.